This evening, we have reports coming in of two motherfuckers who don't give a shit. How you doing, man?
I was trying not to give a shit.
Oh.
So, I guess how am I? I'm not giving a shit. I guess.
Cool. Yeah, I'm going for the... yep.
You're going for the more ambitious not giving a shit? Bifurcation? Nice.
Yeah, my not giving a shit is taking the form of eating on mic.
My form of not giving a shit is the sound of ice clanking around in this glass because I'm not drinking wine right now. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
My guy. All right. Yeah, so we were gonna do a Shannon. We'll do a Shannon episode at some point. Obviously.
Someday we'll drink that beautiful, beautiful wine. Shannon's so fucking good, man.
It's delicious, yeah. It's really a shame when you get one that's not good. Or just there's a lot of like very meh Shannon is just not made well, and it's like not that like all like Shannon that has residual sugar in it is not good, but there's a lot of very mediocre Shannon that just happens to be not dry, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like I've had way more. Like, I think I had like a really good like fully sweet Shannon, like a dessert wine made from Shannon. And then all the other Shannons that I've really liked that I've had have all been like pretty damn near bone dry. Yeah. But I haven't had any in between that I'm like, oh, this is really cool and interesting, and I want to drink a full glass.
That window of RS is, I think, the hardest thing to get right. So
it's hard. Yeah.
I mean, there are other things that are hard to get right, but yeah,
like cabinets and stuff that are really good, but you know the acid's usually high enough, and that also is like the kind of thing where you have to be having it in the right context. Like, there was this bottle that I used to really like at the shop that I worked at. It was like a liter bottle with a screw cap, and it was just this Riesling from Germany. Yep. And it was like, oh yeah, man, just fucking put that on ice. Just put it in a cooler full of ice and bring it to the beach, and you're set. Yeah. Like, you know, that's like drinking lemonade or something, you know, or whatever. But yeah, man. Anyway, speaking of wine that is oftentimes very mediocre. Talking about Sauvignon Blanc this week.
Woo!
Yeah. No, I mean, I've had ones that are good. Like, perhaps one that'll make a guest appearance later. But, I don't know. It's just, maybe it's the kind of thing that it's just not for me. I'm not saying that, like, I had, what the fuck was that producer? It's this Kermit Lynch import producer that, let me find this. Is it like Favely?
Favely?
No, that's not. No, that's a Burgundy producer. I gotta just look up Kermit Lynch. I think it starts with a Kermit Lynch, Sancerre, Reverdy. I knew it was one of those. Yeah, Reverdy. Yeah, Reverdy. They make fantastic. Ooh, their rosé is all Pinot, super delicious. Boom. I really wanted to try their Sancerre Rouge, but I have not been able to get my hands on it. But yeah, no, their
Bailey
Sancerre Reverdy. Hippo Light Reverdy.
Chevignon. Oh.
Hippolyte. And some sort of fat-free hippo product.
Yep. Hippo Light, baby.
Hippo Light. Or it's one of those kids lamps that have like the animal shapes cut out of them. So when you turn on the light at night, it puts hippos all around the room. You know?
Yeah.
That'd be cute.
That would be cute. Be like Fantasia.
Yeah. Or it's a fleshlight, but it feels like you're rubbing a hippo's skin on your penis.
That makes me come so fast.
Oh, it's What if that was just the optimal texture for a human penis to rub against was hippo flesh? Man.
Or just turns out that hippos just feel like the inside of a vagina.
You know, anything's possible.
I think that's what that phrase was.
Except that.
Yeah, that phrase came up when somebody was getting gored by a hippo and was like, "Oh my god, I'm dying," but also it feels like I'm getting fucked to death.
Yeah. Or that's what the person that got caught frauding with a hippo said. They were like, "No, I swear, it feels just like a vagina," and everyone else was like, "Oh, sure." They didn't want to like, you know, take the bait to be the one like, "Hey, you're also the guy who put his penis on a hippo," you know? Well, but at the same time, you'd have to have a pretty good personal relationship. Well, I guess not personal, but, you know, the animalistic relationship with that hippo to be able to put your penis on it and it'd be fine with it.
Yeah, that is true. What is interesting is that the person who did that went on to start a wine label. That's kind of the crazy part.
Mm-hmm. It is pretty cool. In France, for some reason.
Moved to France, and we're like, you know, here my sexual proclivities will be understood.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Precisely. So that's what they do. Anyway, so but the one bottle of sancerre that I've had that I'm like, oh, this is delicious, you know. Mm-hmm. I told my coworkers, you know, about it, and I was like, oh yeah, I had that, it's delicious. He's like, yeah, that's because that's like the best, that's like the best that there is. It's just like super pure and crisp and delicious, and like that's that. And it's not like ridiculously expensive or anything at all. It's just like it's not really easy to find. Yeah.
Well,
it's not easy to find is the thing.
If any of our listeners are interested in going bankrupt drinking Sauvignon Blanc, they need not fear. You can just go buy themselves some bottles of Didier Dagenau Asteroid.
Diddy Kong Dagenau. Yeah, that guy.
Does anyone do sparkling Sauvignon Blanc?
Sauvignon Blanc so good it makes you want to crash a plane. No,
wait,
that's not nice. Dagenau, he died in a plane crash.
Oh no.
I know, it's really sad, man. He was apparently a really cool person, and he was like a total like daredevil kind of like, fuck you, I'm gonna do this, and everybody was like, yo, you can't make Sauvignon Blanc, it's super cool or whatever, and so he was like, fuck you, I'm gonna do it. And so he's a kind of a trailblazer kind of person.
Oh, nice.
And there's the whole like, oh yeah, Sauvignon Blanc can't age because I don't think he made. Yeah, no, he was pretty like kind of push the envelope and all that kind of shit, and was the one who made. I think winemaking was in his family, and then I could just read the bio, but I insist on bullshitting because that's the kind of guy I am.
He looks like a really cool guy.
Yeah.
This is a picture of him. Is like, oh, you're like hippie Santa Claus of wine.
Hippie Santa Claus of wine, indeed. And yeah, I swear, like as I was saying that, I was hitting the tab back, and it says it's a picture from decanter.com that says Didi Dagenau dies, and I swear as we were talking about that, I went to go click, and I said hippie Santa Claus dies. I was like, no, it's not even close to what that actually says. Anyway, the wines are supposed to be delicious.
Yeah.
Don't know. Never had one.
I'm looking at I'm trying to look at a bottle of his Per Sang, which has a picture from the caves at Lascaux on it, of a horse, and it is.
The horse is thick.
It is 103 euros a bottle.
103 euros a bottle. Wow. Yeah. Damn, my guy.
Which, honestly, compared to that other one we were talking about, the Asteroid, that's pretty good.
Yeah, why the fuck is that so? Is the Asteroid because it's astronomically expensive?
Maybe that'd be pretty funny.
That would be good. Like, I just priced this as the free market value, and then they were like, nope, we will pay you 20 times that. And you're like, all right, sure. It's called the Asteroid.
Yeah. I have no idea why it would be so expensive.
I don't either, but...
It's nuts.
Who... Oh, Polaner imports them. Okay, let's see. I wonder if they... Sometimes they'll do that where they'll list all the wines. Oh, they don't list the wines that are in the portfolio. Cool. Nice. Well, fuck me, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, please.
And how? Oh, Bone imports, maybe. Nope, no products available. All right, well, apparently this man's...
Import a bone.
Mysterious. Ooh, nice. Anyway. Yeah, so... Once we finish this drink up, then we'll drink the Sauvignon Blanc, but...
Yeah.
Everybody's favorite fact about Sauvignon Blanc is the same fun fact about Cabernet Sauvignon, is that Sauvignon Blanc is one of the parent grapes of Cabernet Sauvignon. So, boom. There you go.
Yeah. Another fun fact that everyone knows about that stuff is Sauvignon, French for savage, because those vines grow like bananas. No, they don't grow like bananas. Banana plants are very weird. They grow like crazy. But not banana crazy. Fuck it. I don't know. Banana trees can walk.
They can walk? What do you mean? Like their roots aren't fixed?
Yeah, they can move up to I think 50 feet in their lifetime.
What?
Yeah. It's crazy.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. In terms of a fact that is completely irrelevant, but pretty fucking cool. But yeah, Sauvignon Blanc vines are incredibly hedgy. Like, they'll grow as many leaves as possible. Like, you really have to do a lot of like, good Sauvignon Blanc is always a result of very careful viticulture.
Interesting.
Which I think we talked about in the Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand episode, but or New World Sauvignon Blanc, but yeah, you have to do a lot to the vineyard to keep the vines in check, because if you don't, like, it's one of those vines where if you don't really tend to it or like guide it, it'll just say fuck it to producing fruit and just put all of its energy into like carbohydrates shunted to the roots and developing the overall health of the individual vine, and not be like, I need to reproduce.
Yeah.
Because generally most viticulture is just dependent on the fact that we just trick grapevines into thinking they're going to die and producing fruit. And we've selected for very anxious and horny plants.
Nice.
Yeah. Anxious and horny.
Yeah, buddy.
It's what my Tinder profile says.
That's what it's my vanity plate. I somehow managed to make it work. But I'd like people to think about that when they're driving on the road.
You've just got two European-style license plates next to each other.
Yeah. Just all on caps. Just very aggressive.
Anxious and horny.
Woo! Anyway.
Yes, indeedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that we tried to record a Sauvignon Blanc episode before, like last time, and it just didn't work. And we were like, nah, but we're trying it again now. But, I don't know, man. I'm not quite to my wine yet, but I'll get there. I just feel like, one thing I typically don't like about Sauvignon Blanc is that it can just be really green. Super vegetal and grassy. Green bell pepper and green bean and like artichoke and like all this kind of stuff that, like, I love all of those things. No, I don't love green bell peppers, but I love green beans and I love artichoke, but I don't really want, like, I don't know. It's certainly like maybe like a subtle bit of artichoke in like a gamey, like Chateauneuf or something would be really cool, maybe. But like, I don't know. It's the kind of thing that somebody hasn't presented me with. But anyway, but I guess the point is that I don't want it in this white wine, you know. It's, I don't know. Like, have you ever had really like mind-blowing experiences with Sauvignon Blanc? Or not really mind-blowing even, but like really touching. We'll just stick with French Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, actually, one of my like best memories of drinking wine with a buddy of mine was a Sancerre Sauvignon Blanc that was just hard as iron, like the hardest fucking structure. Nothing, no flavors but like lime oil. And it was great. It was like this really cool, super angular wine that was just like, yeah. It's intense. It's not everybody's thing, but it's just very like, it's very confident in what it is.
Right.
And
so for our, sorry, just to interrupt, for our one faithful listener there, what do you mean by that when you're describing its structure and what angular means and all that kind of shit?
It just had bonkers acid. Like, it had so much acid and like probably had seen some amount of wood because all of the tannins were like pretty well integrated with the acid to make it so that, like, you know, when acid is very structural, it doesn't give you that like cutting feeling that, you know, it's like how a kiwi will, you know, you can feel the fact that the acid is actually like eventually going to make your mouth bleed. Especially if you've ever had hardy kiwis, like the kiwi berries. If you eat the skin of those, if you eat like more than like probably like 10, your mouth will start bleeding because there's so much oxalic acid in them. Yeah.
Wow.
They taste amazing, but there's just so much acid in the skins that you can feel like your tongue go raw. And to a smaller degree, like really acidic, like Rieslings and stuff. Like I don't know about you, but like I can feel my tongue go raw when the acid's like out of balance in a wine. Like you can just feel the coarseness of the pH, like changing the chemistry in your mouth actively.
Yeah.
So when like tannins can kind of buffer that and hold it together, so you can still have these like high acid loads, but then it will still be composed and it won't, you know, kind of fuzz out on you. It's like when you turn the volume up too high, or, you know, any of those other like metaphors we tend to use. It's like if you just kind of add something else that you're still like it's like going to you're adding a lot of like bass to a lot of treble, so it's still all loud, but it's in balance with itself. So, you know, if you like it, then it's good, but if you don't, it's gonna throw you off. And that it was just a good bottle of wine because it was like, yeah, this is certainly not something everyone would like, but it's such a good white wine to like educate what acidity can accomplish in white wine.
Yeah.
If you find some way to negotiate it. And it's a great, like, honestly, Sauvignon Blanc isn't even like that lesson. Sauvignon Blanc to me is this like great tool for thinking about white wine because it can be so many different things and express so many different ways. So if you have a Sauvignon Blanc like that you're like, wow, the acid in this is wild, but it's still like in balance. It can change the way you look at Pinot Gris, and then like you realize that a lot of the reason a lot of people's Pinot Gris are kind of underwhelming is because they don't retain acid in them. They pick them, you know, a little bit too ripe. Like picking Pinot Gris just slightly too ripe is not even, well, slightly too ripe you can get away with, but if you look for like 24 bricks in Pinot Gris, that's bad news. Oh my god. It's like that's not good. And and then also just like flavor concentration. Like people say that, you know, you can crop Pinot Noir to 4 tons to the acre, and you can crop Pinot Gris like to 7 tons to the acre or something. And people probably go higher than that. I bet I don't know, but you can I work at a vineyard that, if based on the lag weights, which lag refers to a period of it's shorthand for basically the moment halfway through the development of the fruit in the season. It signals this lag in development as the canes harden off, so the canes stop to grow longer, and they there are phenological differences in the plant that you can identify that are happening because like the hormones in the plant tell it to enter a different phase of its growth. So it's basically the plant prepping for, a different phase of ripening and berry swell before you get to veraison and color change on the berries. But at lag, like if you go out into a vineyard right at lag, it's right. One way to kind of get a sense of when it's about to happen, before you see change in the canes, is the seeds inside the berries will harden. So if you cut through a berry with a knife prior to lag, you can slice through the seed as much ease as you slice through the rest of the berry. At lag, you'll get resistance from the berry, and it will be hard to cut through. So then you can take samples of clusters and project the weight that you'll have at harvest. You can project the weight that the vineyard is carrying, because a cluster at lag weighs approximately half what it does at harvest. So you do a bunch of like random sampling, as random as you can get, weigh however many clusters it was, divide that number by however many clusters you picked, and then you have an idea of the average weight of the average cluster, and then you also have to count how many clusters there are per vine, and get an idea of what that averages out to, and then you can calculate a number that you then just multiply by basically 2, and you know what your tonnage is going to be. And like ideally for Pinot Noir, you're looking at 2.5 to 3 tons to the acre is like a sweet spot, at least in the region that I'm familiar with. Pinot Gris at lag, there was a funny thing that happened a couple years ago where like I went out, the crew foreman went out, I went out, and then he got a number, I got a number, and both of those numbers were so crazy that my dad was like, oh, shit, I'm going to go get my own number. He went out, and he did a sampling, and he got a higher number than I got. So the crew foreman went out, and the number he got was that at harvest we would have 8.5 tons to the acre. I went out, Jesus. I got 9 tons to the acre, and my dad went out and got like 9.25 tons to the acre. And we were like, oh my God. Yeah, we need to thin some of this fruit out. But so the plants have these like, and there's ebb and flow seasonally where plants will, based on climate conditions and just other factors, behave in weird ways, and their hormones will behave in weird ways. So there are certain years where like climate conditions will indicate to the plant, or the plant will get it into its hormonal pattern that it's a good year to fruit, and then you'll see like this spike in fruit production. And then there are other things that go along with that, like berry shatter. So like when the plant is blooming before it's actually set fruit and the flowers are out there, if there's a rain event and the flowers get damaged by rain, then you'll have less, that will damage the ultimate development of berries on those clusters. Other factors can come along like that, depending on whether or not there was frost in the early season, all kinds of stuff. But Sauvignon Blanc is interesting because those plants are just so vigorous in how they grow that you really have to like rein the plant in. Well, the plants can be kind of selfish in that they won't focus on producing fruit, so you have to like balance them towards fruit production, at least from what I've seen. I'm sure it's different in different zones and different soil types, but yeah, it's a very active sort of plant to manage in the vineyard.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, boy.
All right, nice. All right, moved on to wine. I'm drinking. I don't know if I want to say the name of the wine. I mean, it's not bad. I'm just kind of like meh about it. So
then why don't we not? I won't say mine if you don't say yours.
Nice. That sounds good. Yeah, I got a bottle of pouilly, which is region in the Loire Valley. Grows Sauvignon Blanc. And I tend to like those a bit more than Sauvignon Blanc from Sancerre.
Mm-hmm.
At least I've had in the past. I find the pouilly just kind of more mineral driven and more like kind of what you're talking about, where it's just like acid and a little bit of citrus, but mostly just the main attraction, so to speak, of the wine is the structure. And when I've had so many Sancerres where it's just kind of like not blousy, but just sort of like the acid's fine, but it's not like striking, and you just have this sort of this like canvas of it's like the difference between seeing like a really beautiful like impressionist painting and somebody who's like who likes the stuff and bought watercolors and tried to do it themselves, and they're like, yeah, no, it looks the same. Just that sort of like interpretation of it. That's kind of how I see Sancerre. Not looking relative to like the masterpiece, but just looking at that, being like, yeah, no, it's not ugly, you know, like it's pretty. It's like watercolors and stuff. You did a good job, but like it's just kind of like
it's not getting me.
It's
not getting me in my janglies.
Not getting me in janglies whatsoever.
Yeah,
it's like I understand that this is like it's not bad. It's fine white wine, but I feel like just Sauvignon Blanc more so than almost any other white wine to me just ends up tasting like white wine.
Yeah,
you know, just like
no, that's very much something that happens with it.
Yeah. It's kind of like whatever Sangiovese or
it's like a Malbec. It's just red wine.
Yeah, those can just end up just tasting like red wine.
Yeah. So, for some context that I suppose we haven't provided, the Loire Valley, Sancerre is in the Loire Valley. And the Loire Valley runs from east to west on sort of the northwestern part, in the northwestern corner of France. I'm trying to figure out where. So Sancerre is. I'm gonna figure this out. I can't navigate this map to save my.
Oh, you're trying to figure out where Sancerre is within.
Yeah, where it relates to the rest of the Loire. Okay, so Sancerre is very east.
Yeah, it's like a lot of the other regions of the Loire Valley, the wine regions are all sort of
contiguous.
Yeah, and then Sancerre is sort of this own island. It's similar to like Chablis with Burgundy.
Yeah,
kind of where it's its own little like chunk on the other side there.
And pouilly is actually east of Sancerre and abuts Sancerre, so it's sort of like it'd be like a sub region of Chablis, say, like a.
Yeah,
and I think they're both smaller than that, actually. Well, they might not be. So the Loire is quite big. Like in terms of geography, it's similar to the Côte d'Aron in that it's like technically quite a big area, but the wines people drink from it tend to be from much more specific, smaller AOCs within that. But yeah, so like Muscadet is like the furthest west. Is that the furthest west? Yeah. And that is up near the city of Nantes. And then it moves back through all of these different regions. The most well known, I would say, are probably Muscadet and Chinon. I don't know if
in terms of
just generally being known as subregions of the Loire.
Yeah, I'd say.
And then pouilly and Sancerre.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say Sancerre is the big one. then Muscadet. I think Chinon's probably the main. If anybody knows anything about Loire Valley red wines, they probably know Chinon.
Yeah, and the main varietal there is Cab Franc, right?
Yeah. Within the Loire Valley, the main reds they grow are like Cab Franc.
They grow quite a bit of Pinot
and Pinot Noir. Yeah. Those are sort of like the big three. They grow some other ones too, and there's some cool like native grape varieties up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then the main white ones in Muscadet are Melon de Bourgogne, and then in Sancerre and in
pouilly fume.
Those regions. It's all those are all Sauv Blanc, and then there are separate regions inside where they grow a lot of Chenin Blanc, and we'll do that in another episode once I can get my hands on a good bottle of Chenin Blanc.
Yeah. I suppose Vouvray would also be a quite well-known region.
Vouvray probably is. Yeah, and then I don't know. It's a little, and then there's Anjou. But it's tricky because it's like any of this kind of stuff. I mean, we're both like spend like once you're sort of into like wine culture or whatever, there's no real like it's easy for me to forget however not that long ago, a few years ago, where I had no idea about any of this shit. Like I had no fucking clue, Like I remember going into a wine store once and being like, I'm like, oh, I know they grow Pinot Noir in France, and like, but I know they also grow it in like the U.S. So I'm like, oh, is and I like didn't know anything about French either. I was like, oh, does like noir? Does that mean like new? Is that because it's like a new? Like I thought like Pinot Noir was what they called like
American Pinot Noir, because from France it'd be called Burgundy.
No, or like that they grew Pinot there. I honestly don't know what my logic was, but I just didn't know, and I didn't understand that like essentially every, like generally speaking, every wine you can get in the old world, quote unquote, is just everything on the label. It's just gonna be the name of the place. It's not gonna be like a lot of times the name of the grape it's illegal to put it on there. Mm-hmm. So it's just stupid, but
So
anyway,
I was gonna say like to that, fucking Loire is like probably one of the best examples of exactly all that stuff we've been talking about throughout the episodes, the past several episodes, about like wine laws in Europe and how confusing and complicated they can get. Like when you get into what the Loire is and what is included in the Loire and how like far out some of those places are, like there's a place called Côte d'Auvergne, which is like way south of like a bunch of other stuff, and then there's Côte de Forez and Côte Renoncé. But like I've never heard of any of those, but they're all in the Loire, but like they're not contiguous with any of the stuff that like I think of. And then even in contiguous regions like the West region, there are several sub like AVAs to that. So like the furthest west one is Gros Plant du Pays Nantais, and then next to that, or sort of surrounding it, in multiple different areas, is Muscadet. So Muscadet is like south and north of that first one, and then also a little bit east of it, and then again east of it. So there's like 4 different sections to Muscadet that are not contiguous. Oh, and then there are like several more way east of that. So like
dude, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, and those are all defined by what they grow there. Yeah, they're all growing Melon de Bourgogne, as opposed to Muscadet growing also Melon de Bourgogne, but then like other stuff too. I don't even know, but like I'm sure some part of what I just said somehow is wrong, because like
I mean, so, and just a lot of it's confusing because if you just look at like, so there's the 3 regions, the Région Ouest is, but that's not the term that I remember studying.
Anjou
Saumur and
Touraine,
where they grow a lot of Yeah. And then Tourain's the other one.
Yeah.
But Touraine, there's Cheverny and Core Cheverny are both really cool. But it's like just between those two regions. Okay, so Core Cheverny, the grape you can grow there is called, the white grape is called Romarin 10, and it's like this really cool indigenous grape variety. But it's like they only make whites, and then Cheverny only makes red. No, they make red and whites. Like there's all these fucking rules that I can't even remember. But I think I think Cheverny whites you can have, and it's like mostly Chardonnay. It's a combination of Sauvignon Blanc and Chardonnay, but I can't remember which proportion. If it's mostly Sauv Blanc or mostly Chardonnay. But like just within these two little subregions, there's these specific rules, and these are both very small subregions of the overall Loire Valley. So it's so fucking complicated.
Yeah.
And that's why it's like, okay, yeah, if you do want to, like, you can make a job out of this. And there are zillions of people who have fucking jobs out of this. It's just to know this kind of shit. Because somebody's got to know it, I guess.
Yeah.
And,
technically.
Yeah.
It exists. So somebody probably
it exists.
Gone to try and know it. But, it's...
And it's cool.
And it's all valuable. Like, the thing that is great about the Loire is... To me, the Loire is like, it's great because it's so complicated and so expansive and so like varied that it has not suffered the thing that Burgundy has, or even Bordeaux, where it's like, yeah, it can be explained and then sort of classified clearly enough to a buying public that it is unobtainable to for the best examples. Like you can buy many wines from the Loire that are interesting for under $30.
Oh yeah,
like,
totally.
It just does not have that same like cachet that Burgundy has, because it's, I think partly because it is confusing, and partly because like it's still very much like a region, from what I understand, that like the French consider like where they go for their wine. Like most Grand Cru Burgundy, like something like 95% of it, excluding Paris, something like 95% of Grand Cru Burgundy leaves France.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I don't know the exact, like, I think Paris is like folded into that maybe, but a huge, like people in Burgundy don't drink Grand Cru Burgundy anymore. And the ones that do are the ones who own those estates.
Right.
But people in the Loire drink their own wine. People in Languedoc-Roussillon, they drink their own wine. Like people in Fronton, or there are all these other AOCs throughout France that are like still, they have a huge history to them, and their winemaking traditions are really fascinating and really cool, but they have not been sort of like tainted by a globalized market presence that it has redefined how they think of what they are and what they do.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that against the quality of Burgundy. I'm just saying it about the like perception of Burgundy. It's like,
yeah, totally. I mean, I think it's just honestly just a matter of time, because people are going to switch switch shifts to like, I mean, what usually happens is it's like it starts as some like sort of trend, and then whatever Psalms might start recommending certain wines to people, and then they, for whatever reason, decide like, oh, whether or not people genuinely like it, who have a ton of money, or the people who are buying like Grand Cru Burgundy decide they might want to buy that, and that'll drive up demand, or it becomes some sort of cult thing, and then that like multiple sort of cult producers develop there, and then it sort of brings up the prices around it as a whole, and then before you know it, then whatever fucking wines are you can charge like $1,200 for a bottle of Sauvignon Blanc.
Yeah, which has already happened. Like, that exists.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. I mean, I think there's probably there are probably, with exceptions, the major grapes you can spend $1,000 on a wine made out of any grape.
Yeah,
maybe not Gamay. Actually, I don't know.
Can you spend that much on a bottle of Barbera?
Probably one with like a ton of age on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But I think there is something to be said about like the distinctions between the wines that you can find multiple producers selling current release stuff at those prices at over $1,000. That exists for Riesling. It exists for Cabernet Sauvignon. It exists for Merlot. It exists for Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc. I don't know about Chardonnay, or not Chardonnay, Chenin Blanc, but I'm sure it does.
Chenin Blanc, yeah, I'm sure.
But yeah, it's just a whole thing about like it's one of the reasons that I accept the insanity of the prices of Chardonnay or of champagne is because champagne's always been expensive. Like, and it's a very labor intensive thing. Like, that champagne that you can buy champagne for less than $30, and it's real champagne, is preposterous. Like, that's kind of unnerving. But you can. Hot tip for anybody listening. Costco brand Kirkland champagne is legitimate Grand Cru champagne from Champagne in France. It's $25 a bottle, and to be honest, that shit is phenomenal. It's really good. Like, for a $25 bottle of wine, it kicks ass. It's so good.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because it's just this big, gaudy label that just says champagne, and at the top it's got the Kirkland signature box. Just like, wow.
Yeah.
What sort of world do I live in? Jesus. But like, that exists.
Yeah, my guy.
But I find that a little bit more preposterous than the average price for like respectable houses in Champagne is like $60 or $65. Like, that's honestly completely reasonable to me for that specific kind of wine. But and even the upper end of champagnes don't get into the same sort of like. Some of them do, but the window is like more definite. Fuck me. There's more of a sense to the window of prices than there is with like Pinot Noir. Yeah, with Champagne, like you look at you start at like for most serious producers, like you're looking at Moet Chandon or Veuve Clicquot, you're looking at like $50-$60. And then at the upper end, you're looking at things like Salon or Krug, and they're, you can buy basically what our current release bottles of those for $250-$300. Upwards, depending on what the vintage program is or whatever.
Yeah.
But there is this like kind of linear, or at least, not exponential curve. Whereas if you look at fucking Grand Cru Burgundy, to buy Grand Cru Burgundy, you're stepping in at like probably $100 a bottle.
Yeah, at least. And then there's this very sharp escalation in price for certain vineyards and certain producers. Oh yeah.
And that is exponential. That's just like, yeah, you can't like and it really doesn't track with anything specific. So it just gets really annoying to consider.
Yeah.
But
yeah, man, we haven't even. Yeah, I haven't at least really drank this wine.
Yeah, I've been sipping this inattentively. But yeah, this has got that like the thing that I associate with Sancerre is like hard liminess to the acid, and this has that, but it also has sort of that like. It's not as much as the lost episode Sauvignon Blanc I drank from New Zealand, but it's got a bit of grassiness to it. Like, it's got a little bit of that, just enough that like I still find it charming. But yeah, a little bit of grassiness, a lot of lime oil.
Like, you mean like lime, like the peel? Like
yeah,
oil from the peel.
But then a very placid palate, like not a whole lot of like tension or like it's like we're drinking the very end, like when you've finished your gin and tonic, the ice is melted and has just picked up that like solid whisper of lime, and it's quite whisper lime, whisper lime. But yeah, you still have like some of those botanicals from the gin lingering, and you have that lime flavor lingering, and then you just drink that in one last swallow of water, and it's like mostly like not flavors, but then you notice how little flavor there is in the water, because carried in that water are all these other flavors that are like pretty subtle in the gin and tonic, but like, you know, good. But yeah, so Sancerre kind of has that for me. Is like, this one, sorry, yeah, I suppose maybe generally, but like the palate very much is like that, where it's like very like, it's not tired, it's just like it's relaxed, because like the thing that goes along with that last sip of like the melted ice of a gin and tonic is like, you've had a gin and tonic, so you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna take this last sip, and go get more drunk on something else,
right? Yeah,
French wine.